Boa noite. Quem fala aqui é Maru, de arquivo-r-t-maru-x. Hoje vamos ver agora um videozinho sobre alienígenas do passado. Alienígenas do passado, certo? Vocês irão ver esse vídeo. É onde fala sobre os alienígenas e as teorias que existem sobre os alienígenas do passado, tá certo? Dentro do arquivo RT-maru-x, ok? Eu capturei na internet esses arquivos e coloquei aí para vocês verem, tá certo assim? São arquivos que eu realmente acredito que aconteceu dessa maneira no passado, tá certo? Direto no meu quarto do meu filho aqui. Então o que acontece? Dentro do canal Arquivo RT-Maru-x, assistam aí Alienígenas do Passado, pesquisado na internet e colocado aí para você ver. Um grande abraço, fique com Deus.
Hi Giorgio, I'm thrilled to meet you. At first I would like to say that I have a special video, I think it's my favorite, that we made a drinking game of ancient aliens.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay. All the time that we heard aliens, extraterrestrial and UFO, we have to drink a shot.
O programa nem começou e cada já tomou 5.
Of course, that's a great game. And I'll be the first one to tell you that these games exist all around the planet.
Really?
With viewing parties of people watching Ancient Aliens. And I have to give a shout out to Robert Clotworthy, who is the narrator, well, in the American version of Ancient Aliens. And every time he says, ancient astronaut theorists say, then, you know,
you have to drink.
Bottoms up. Exactly. So, great, fantastic, good to know that also here in Brazil, this is happening. Perfect.
It's happening.
Great.
I know that the show is about how aliens could have affected our society, but do you know any evidence that it is already happening right now in the contemporary?
Sure, because we have the modern UFO phenomenon. And, you know, if you subscribe to the idea that some of the UFOs that we see up in the sky could be of extraterrestrial origin, then that means that the ancient aliens never really left. They've always been here with us.
Nosso cinegrafista mostra o momento em que Bilu dá salto para a frente.
Na cabeça, né?
Because yes, the show is about ancient aliens, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they've disappeared. And so, you know, I think it's quite possible, while many of the UFOs that we see could be our technology, I think that maybe 1% or 10% is not ours, it's theirs. So this phenomenon has been going on for the past 10,000 years.
It is in sci-fi movies, it is like Men in Black. They have the little gag about Velcro,
yes,
for example.
Right.
Ficamos com a patente de algumas coisas que confiscamos que os visitantes trazem. Velcros, fornos micro-ondas, lipoaspiração.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard or read about Brazilian incidents like Virginia or
yes.
Operation Plate? And I'd like to know your opinion about it, and if you have a favorite, something like that.
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra, that's scary. Scary as hell.
I think it's very interesting. But at the same time, you know, recently there has been a discovery made in the Amazon on the top of a hill. There's a megalithic stone circle that is almost similar to Stonehenge. Of course, it's not the same, but it's something having to do with the constellations. And then another thing that I find interesting here is in northeastern Brazil, around Paraíba, there is the Pedra do Inga, which is this carving of a stone on the side, where to this day nobody knows what the script or the writing means, and also nobody knows which native culture carved those symbols. But some of those symbols, and you should look this up, they look like little alien heads.
Really?
So to me, that's fascinating, and one of these days I will go and check it out myself.
Have you ever been in some site in Brazil?
No, because this is my first time in Brazil. I've wanted to come here for many, many years, but you know, now I'm here promoting Ancient Aliens, and therefore there isn't enough time for me to go out in the field, but I will be back.
Oh, that's nice. What is the most bizarre and absurd things have you ever saw in your researches?
The most bizarre. Well, there's a place in the Bolivian highlands on the border between Bolivia and Peru, next to Lake Titicaca. There's a world-famous archaeological site called Tiwanaku. And about 300 meters from Tiwanaku, there's a smaller archaeological site called Puma Punku. And there, all of logic is turned upside down because you have gigantic red sandstone platforms and you have smaller blocks made out of gray andesite. And both of them represent a problem because if you have these big, gigantic red sandstone blocks, some of which are up to 75 tons heavy, you have to wonder, because we know where the quarry was, about 80 to 100 miles away, how were these platforms transported from over there to Pumapunku? And many archaeologists say, well, that's an easy question, we can answer it right away. It was done with wooden rollers, and which means at some point you had to cut down some trees, and you used the logs.
It's a long way.
Well, that number one, and number two, Pumapunku and Tiwanaku is at an altitude of almost 13,000 feet, which is about 3,500 meters, and it basically means that you are above the natural tree line, so no trees ever grew in that altitude. So where did they bring the wooden rollers? From 500 miles away at a lower altitude? I don't know. And then the second question is the question about how the gray andesite blocks were carved or cut. Because gray andesite is an igneous rock. It is incredibly hard and dense. So archaeologists have suggested that these blocks were cut with copper tools or with iron tools, and I kid you not, in some cases they have said it was done with chicken bones.
Chicken bones?
Look, it is an absolute impossibility to cut andesite with copper because copper is too soft. So you have to have a material that's either equally hard or harder than the andesite. And these tools have not yet been found. So you have to wonder how it was done. But for example, you have this block that's very famous with a perfect groove going from the top down on the side, and every 3 centimeters you have a perfect hole that has been drilled into it, and there are multiple of these holes, and they're all equally deep. And how was that done? It should be an emergency for scientists to explore what happened or what's going on at Pumapunku. Yet we decide to look the other way and be like, oh, whatever. It was done with chicken bones.
Chicken bones. Okay. Could you please leave a special message for Brazilian skeptics?
Oh. Yeah.
Because many of them are here and they are watching us.
Okay, to the Brazilian skeptics and to the skeptics worldwide, one day you will understand. And by the way, I'm not here to change the mind of the skeptics. I'm not here to change the mind of anyone. You have to be ready for these ideas. Otherwise, I can show you, I could put an ET in your lap right now and they would still say it's a hoax. Just like some people say that if the aliens would show themselves publicly, that it is a government hoax, but with fake ETs and things like this. I mean, what kind of a cynical world are we living in?
I think I am a believer, and my audience also know that. But how many messages have you ever received of fans telling their own stories about their experiences and contacts? And
I can't even put a number on that. It has to be in the thousands. And what I can say though is that it is every person that comes forward with a story, whether they saw a UFO or they had a close encounter with an abduction or something like this, like an abduction experience, what I can tell you is that I have met many of those people and I have looked them in the eyes and they have looked me into the eyes. Not everyone is a liar. And when you have people all of a sudden starting to shake in their entire body or people starting to cry, then all I can say is they better become actors because they would win every Academy Award there is. And this is not the case. So it's incredible to me, because here's the thing, that if you admit to a close encounter, it's not an easy decision to make this, because the moment you say publicly that something happened to you, it can go two ways. Either people will accept what you just said, or they will say to you, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's a very hard decision for many people, and that's why I think that the great majority of people who have actually encountered or seen something don't say it.
I believe that because it's been like 1 year since I told my experience in one podcast, and some people tell me that I'm crazy, some people believe in me, but that was really a relief for me.
And was it something you saw or something that happened to you?
Something that happened to me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
Yeah, no,
That's crazy.
Is it crazy? I don't think so. You know, because I think there is something there. You know, I don't know exactly what, but to say that what you experienced did not happen to you, that's wrong.
Thank you, Giorgio. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, of course.
Nice to meet you.
Great questions. Thank you. How?
How?
How?